Welcome into a special live edition of Back to the Bullpen with myself and Mike Stanton. We're going to talk about news around the league, the hot teams in the NL and the AL, and can the Astros turn the ship around? Can they reset in New York? Let's go right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat it low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk your back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey there, and thank y'all for tuning in to another edition of Back to the Bullpen. Hey, look, we're excited that y'all are here. Why? Because you guys put us over the 1,000 watch mark on our last episode. Mike, that's exciting to see. That means more people are getting the word, and we're here live in the Ram Shirt Studios. If you see the barcode there, you see the little QR code, you can grab a Back to the Bullpen shirt. I've got my Space City shirt that is from Ram Shirts, and he's got the OG Back to the Bullpen shirt, the B2B. And make sure you check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify. You can check us out. Actually, check us out on iHeartRadio and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are almost at 500 subscribers. We breached the 300 mark, Mike. And look, there's a lot of exciting things going on in baseball. Not so exciting in Houston, and we'll get to that. But tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, the only place you can find me on social media is going to be on X, formerly known as Twitter, and it is Mike Stanton 29, the old 29er. Great to have all you people here. Spread the word. You know, we've come a long way in a short period of time, but we're nowhere near where we want to be.
No, yeah, definitely. It's, I always say it's not about where you are, it's about where you're going. And, tonight we do want to, we want to start looking more around the league. And it's not just because the Astros have been faltering or anything like that, but there is more baseball than just Houston. And what that means is sometimes we have to dive into teams that maybe aren't favorites in town, but they are rivals of the Houston Astros. And I don't know if you noticed, but a team that you played for once, the Atlanta Braves, they played a series with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Dodgers swept them. And the Dodgers really took care of business this last weekend. This was really, they're saying two right now favorites to go to the World Series. I mean, could this be a possible World Series preview?
Well, no, it can't, because they're both National League teams.
Well, I'm sorry.
It could be a NLCS. It's okay.
National. Yeah, that's what I meant. There you go.
It's okay. Could it be a playoff series preview? Actually, I would be surprised if it's not. These are arguably the two best teams in Major League Baseball right now. And the Dodgers, the Dodgers got off to a slow start this year, but they have, fixed their woes, and they are clicking on all cylinders right now. And, we knew that this was the odds-on favorite to win the World Series just with all the moves that they made this past season. And, they're making it look pretty to sweep the Atlanta Braves. Pretty remarkable. I mean, because the Atlanta Braves, we saw them come through Houston, and that is a very, very good baseball team. But it was in LA, so they have that. They had got that going for them as far as the Dodgers are concerned. And any team can beat any other team on any given night, but the Dodgers seem to be rolling right now.
Exactly. They are, 22-13. The Braves are 20-11. And Tyler Glasnow, he was an exciting signing, but he wasn't Ohtani. He wasn't Yamamoto, but he's 6-1. I mean, Tyler Glasnow is really, talk about him, because, Mike, when he had that Tommy John surgery, that was devastating. And that was right around the time they had banned the sticky stuff, and he had come out and openly criticized that and said, I think this is part of the reason why I got injured. But how big is it for someone like that to come back and have the stellar start to his year.
Oh, I think it. Well, to tell you the truth, you have to remember who Tyler Glasnow is or was. This
Right.
was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. It seemed like for a decade. Okay, it wasn't quite that long, but it was for a long time, year in and year out. This was the dude. He's going to be the next Cy Young Award winner, future Hall of Famer. All this pressure put on him, but he has had issues early in his career with consistency and big time issues with injuries. And I tend to agree with him about the sticky stuff that they banned it in the middle of the season, which I thought was an absolute travesty, because you can't just expect guys to make those kind of adjustments. And when you take away something that that is aiding. So what are you going to try and do? You're going to crank on it a little bit more. You're going to try and spin the breaking ball a little bit harder. And he wasn't the only one that got hurt. I was just glad that he was able to stand up and say something that he felt secure enough where he was to do that. But listen, this is not really all that surprising. Now, 6-1, that's a pretty stinking good record.
Yeah.
The way he's pitched, not surprising, because this guy has had that talent his whole baseball career. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field consistently. Everyone thought that, this was an overpay just simply because he hadn't done it before. And you have to remember, we're only 5-6 weeks into the regular season.
Exactly.
So there's still a lot of baseball to be played, but he's showing what that talent level always was.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, because I think maybe there might be less pressure on him. I know LA's a kind of a high pressure situation, but he's got a lot of people around him that the media tends to go to first. And Tyler may not mind that as a pitcher. I mean, you've pitched in Yankee Stadium, you've pitched for the Braves, you've pitched on the biggest stages. And sometimes not having the biggest spotlight on you is just what a player needs. I mean, 10 strikeouts, only 2 earned runs, 7 innings pitched. And let's not just stop there with the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani is off to an amazing start offensively. 3 for 5 in that game. Freeman
OPS over 1,100.
1,100 OPS. You got Mookie Betts, who just got Player of the Month. You got Will Smith, who's hitting 347. I mean, they've got a couple guys out in the Lux who aren't really hitting well, but you're gonna have your 1 or 2 holes in the lineup. Max Muncy's even hitting 262. He had just come back from an IL stint. You got Kiki Hernandez, who kind of refound his home there in LA. And I mean, this Dodgers team they seem to be the real deal. They are leading by 5.5 games over San Diego. They have the best record. Well, actually, the Phillies have the best record in the National League, but you've got powerhouses in the West and in the East. What do you make of this West Division? Do you think anybody can catch them? I mean, it looks like, Arizona might get hot. San Diego, they're always just kind of a mixed bag of tricks. You don't really know what you're going to get with them. But it seems like LA's really got an opportunity to stay in the lead and be that kind of number 1 seed going into the playoffs.
This is who the Dodgers are seemingly every single year, other than a few years ago when the Giants kind of came out of nowhere and won like 106 games or 105 games, whatever it was, to beat the Dodgers. Other than that, they are the perennial, National League West division leaders all the time. And it's really remarkable to see that the longevity that they have had with the turnover that they have had. And there's no doubt these guys are going to be right there at the end. I don't think there's really anybody that's going to give them a big run. San Diego is going to be better. The Diamondbacks had a horrendous streak, a losing streak that they finally got through that. So that put them behind the 8 ball. But I don't think the Dodgers are the best team in that division, hands down. So I expect them to stay right where they are at the top.
No, yeah, definitely. And if you look in the East, the Philadelphia Phillies, I mean, they've got, Schwarber's not hitting great, but he had a good weekend. Harper is, he's hitting home runs again. Alec Bohm is hitting 349. They've got Dan Wheeler. I mean, Zach Wheeler. Got Dan and Zach mixed up. They've got Aaron Nola. The Phillies have a really good team as well. And it just seems like the National League is chock full of teams that are playing really well. And, what do you, I mean, do you think the Phillies and the Braves continue to battle towards the end until the end like they did last year? I mean, last year it was like until the end of the season, you didn't know who was going to be on top. You're muted.
There you go. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
The Phillies have a really good team. There's no doubt about it, but they still have their blemishes also. They still have a bullpen that is not slam dunk. It's one of those situations that you don't know exactly what you're going to get on a nightly basis. Them in Atlanta, they're going to battle all the way through. I still think there's a lot of people that feel like the Phillies, it's time for the Phillies to take over as the beast in the East. But I think the Atlanta Braves, with their experience, with their very good bullpen, which we saw down here in Houston, I think that they are going to prevail at the end. But I think both of these teams, that being the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies, they're both playoff teams without a doubt.
Exactly. And look, I mean, these guys are cutting it close, but look, if you're getting cut too close and your hair looks like someone took a weed whacker to your head and maybe you paid the wrong barber, maybe you need to go to state-of-the-art barbershop at 1616 South Friendswood Drive. My guy, Ever Cruz and company, they do a phenomenal job. I mean, Mike, it's all about keeping it high and tight. I know when you're in the major leagues, you want to look good, but even if you're not a major league player, you go into the game, you want to look good. So why not visit state-of-the-art?
Well, you know what? I think my boy Brett needs to go down there. That's why he's always wearing a hat. He needs to be tightened up. He might get a little shaggy on the side, clean up the beard a little bit. He needs to go down to see our boys in Friendswood.
Man, look at Mike throwing shade at me. Wow, man, golly. Maybe my truth is known. This is like my long hair, Samson.
He just told me he's got like 100 Astros hats. Not hats in total, just Astros hats.
Just Astros hats.
I think, step one to any program is admitting you have a problem.
Well, it's funny. It's funny, Mike, you say that because today I actually went to the post office in Pearland, where I teach, and the guy kind of looked at me, and I was just getting an envelope. He looked at me, and he kind of had this look like, I was like, what? I thought I did something. And he saw my name tag and he goes, "Hey, I know who you are. You're Htown Wheelhouse, man. I listen to Locked On Astros and all that stuff." And so I told him about back to the bullpen. He said, "But I didn't recognize you without your hat."
Nah, there you go.
I can't wear a hat in school. And then he pointed everybody, "Hey, y'all, we got a celebrity in the house. This is Htown Wheelhouse." And they were like, "We've never heard of this guy." So it was both edifying and humbling all in one moment.
That's why we need all the people that are listening to make sure that they tell 10, 15, 20 of their closest friends to come on over to B2B.
That's right. And Roman Torres, who is actually part of the Houston Hat Club, says, "Mike, there are people with 1,500 plus hats in their collection."
Wow.
I'll have to introduce you next time you're at the stadium.
So you're saying you have a goal now?
Oh, let me tell you, I have goals. It's not about where I'm at. It's about where I'm going, Mike. You know that. And, because you can take these things with you when you leave the earth, right? Everything goes with you.
As long as you think so.
So let's shift gears over to the American League, and the Orioles are building just a team, a program, an institution over there. They're 23-11. The Yankees are playing very good ball. I mean, heck, the Boston, nobody pictured the Tampa Bay Rays to be 18-18, but even the worst team in that division is 16-19.
Right.
They look like they're one of the top teams in the AL West over there in the bottom of the barrel of the AL East. But you've got Gunnar Henderson, you've got Adley Rutschman, you've got Cedric Mullins. I haven't even gotten to their pitchers yet. I mean, you've got these guys. You've got this club that Mike Elias and company has built. it's kind of cool to see the Orioles doing something because
It is.
we haven't really known much about the Orioles since the Cal Ripken days. I mean, let's just be honest. I know we've had some good guys, we've had some good players come through, but since Cal Ripken made all the headlines with the streak and with the runs and all that stuff, we haven't seen a whole lot out of Baltimore, and they're finally really becoming a formidable opponent.
It's taken, Mike Elias came from Houston. He got the job there in Baltimore, and he's done a remarkable job. It's taken time, but he had a whole organization to build. It wasn't just about the major league club. It was about the whole minor league system. And so he had to build it grassroots up. And that's exactly what has happened. It's taken some time, but you go through that roster and look at how many of those guys are homegrown. It's like the whole freaking team, except for Corbin Burns, who that was the big move in the offseason to bring in an ace at the top of the rotation. And he has been pitching just like that. But, this is a team that 2 years ago, I think they snuck up on people. People didn't really know how good these dudes were. They're all just a bunch of rookies. Well, they played pretty well. Last year, they backed it up. This year, there's a lot of people, including myself, that I think that this very well may be the team to beat in the American League East, which is crazy to say with some of those other big market teams like New York and Boston Red Sox, who are playing well also. So, it's going to be a battle all the way through the regular season. But yeah, Baltimore it's a cool team. They're a fun team to watch. They've got some great young talent. And if you haven't had a chance to check out a game, of course, it's going to be, whenever the Astros aren't playing. But, you got to go out and check out the Orioles because they are worth the admission.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, they basically capped a sweep off a sweep of the Reds the other day with their final game being 11-1. They took 3 or 4 from the Yankees in their last home series. I mean, just dominant pitching. I mean, Anthony Santander has, that's a guy that's kind of come around and he's become, I think he's one of the most underappreciated position players in the game. Santander has really done. He's an all-star. They got Jordan Westberg also, who's doing well. Dean Krimmer. He became the 3rd consecutive Orioles starter with a scoreless start. He struck out 6 across 6 innings. I mean, and Brandon Hyde may also be, I mean, I guess we know about him because of their run last year, but what Brandon Hyde's been able to do, and that's a huge job for him to be a manager and to manage those young talented bunch to keep them focused.
Well, the thing that Brandon's been able to do, he was there at the beginning, not the beginning of the rebuild, but the beginning of this run that they've been on. So they've kind of grown together, that being the roster and the manager. And he's the right guy at the right time. And he seems to be leading these young players. They respect him. He makes good moves. I'll tell you what, it doesn't look like anything but upside for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, it is insane how good they're playing. And, like I said, how good the AL East is. And that brings us kind of full. Well, you know what? I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to save the Astros until the end because I want to talk to you more about Logan Gilbert, because I know we talked about him on the eve of when he was supposed to pitch. He came out. Mike, am I being too premature in saying that he is an early favorite for American League Cy Young?
Listen, he's on the short list right now. And, he's got to stay healthy. But we've said this about the Seattle Mariners. It seems like every single solitary year, at least over the last 3 or 4 years, if these guys can stay away from that big hole early in the season, this is a dangerous team. And that's what they've done this year. They're in first place. We just saw them. They won 2 of 3 from the Astros. And, whether it was Gilbert or Bryce Miller the next day, these guys are shoving. They are pitching so well. And that's what we've always said is going to make them so dangerous, that if you can give them a couple runs on a daily basis, they're going to win a lot of baseball games because their rotation has some big, young, talented power arms, and they can shut down any offense. And we saw that in Houston on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And, they even have, I guess one of my favorite guys, because he was actually one of the first major league players that I ever got to interviews or guys that made it to the majors was Josh Rojas. And whenever Rojas is in that lineup and he's leading off, he's really doing a good job there in Seattle. He's really found his place. I don't think he was like, he wanted to be in Arizona because that's where he's from.
Right.
But it seemed like all the young talent coming up seemed to kind of move him around. And so now he's got a spot. He's got a place. You got Julio Rodriguez. You got Polanco, who they brought over, who has the ability to hit. Even Mitch Garver with a lower hitting average catcher. This is still a very good guy. We saw what he did the postseason against the Astros last year. Mitch Haniger, who is an absolute Astros killer. Cal Riley. I mean, you look top to bottom, their lineup, although it's been inconsistent this year, and you look at a lot of their averages and OPS, they're not great, but they have potential to go out there and really crush the ball.
Yeah, they've got power to hit the ball out of the ballpark. So that means, no lead is really really out of reach for them. But what you're seeing more than anything else, since they're winning baseball games, you're seeing them play with a lot of confidence. And that means everything in this sport that, it's so built around negativity. They're winning baseball games, and you're seeing them come to the ballpark with a little different swagger every day, just simply because they're expecting to win. And that's dangerous. When you have pitching like they have in their rotation that can shut down any offense, that's dangerous when they come in when you have young players that have big confidence, man, that can be trouble for the rest of the league.
Yeah, exactly. And that I think leads us into like what's going on in Houston. And I know you and I have talked about it, and it looked like the Astros had a series win on Sunday. It would have been their third straight series win. It would have been a really good getaway game. Remember last year how they went 9 or 10 getaway games. They had one in a row, and that's always a good feeling. You know that feeling.
Happy flights.
Yeah, happy flights. My question is, are the Astros not have, because I think have and are make this sentence two different things, but are the Astros finally hitting a wall? I mean, they've had so much success. Everything went perfect in 2022. A lot of things went good last year, but everything that could go wrong at the end of the year did go wrong, right?
Yeah.
And now it seems like when one thing's going right, the other things are going left. And you had this, I even called it the law firm of Abreu, Presley, and Hader, where they're faltering. Bregman is just, he just appears lost. He had the 1-2 out RBI over this last series.
Mm-hmm.
But with where they are, I mean, what do you think's going on? I mean, do you think they're hitting a wall? Do you think it's still too early? I mean, but I don't know. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's still too early. I mean, they have not played well. And I think if, there's several stats we could go to that, makes you raise your eyebrows. I think the one for me is the 11 losses that they've had after leading in the game. And, that you can take that in a couple different ways. Obviously, the bullpen has not been what we expected them to be anywhere close.
Right.
Do I think they're going to get better? Yes, I do. I do. These guys, we talked one time about what the back of the baseball ball card means. And to me, that still is in play here. These guys are good. It's not like they've forgotten how to pitch. It's not like all of a sudden their stuff has been degraded in 1 year. They're just not getting the job done. They're making mistakes, and the hitters on the other side are capitalizing, but I still think that this is a very good team. They're going to continue to get healthier and healthier. It looks like Javier should be back here pretty soon from his neck stiffness after his last start, which was very good. And, it's just a matter of moving on. Listen, it's a lot harder for us fans to move on from one game to the next than it is the players.
Okay.
Because the players know how many games they're playing. They understand that there's still, 140 plus games, whatever it is, left to play in this season. And they understand how good they really are. They just need to figure out how to keep treading water right now until they get on a roll, because they're going to get on a roll. Every team in baseball gets on a roll. Now, it's a relative statement. If you're a bad team, getting on a roll might only mean 3 or 4 days or a week. But if you're a good team, that could mean as much as a good month. And that's you have a mediocre season with a good month. Guess what? You're where you want to be. And that's where the Astros need to just continue to get their work in, which they are. They're all hard workers. Mm-hmm. And just try and build that confidence a little bit at a time. And for the bullpen, hey, sometimes the bear gets you, sometimes you get the bear, but you go out the next time and you try and do your job again. And that's the only thing you can really do. You just got to keep going out there until the tide changes.
Now, I'm gonna toss something your way. I know when you played, even 5 years ago, we weren't using the expected numbers. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing Ryan Stanek talk about this on a podcast with Apollo Dez and with Brian Lima. And he was like, expected numbers. I don't understand. Like he was kind of like, I don't even listen to that. But
yeah, Rhino's a little bit of an old school dude.
But I want to show you something. Okay. I'm gonna flash some numbers up here. Okay. So you have a 5.27 ERA and a 3.25 expected ERA. Mm-hmm. You have a 6.14 ERA and a 2.89 ERA. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Ryan Presley's ERA at 5.27. His expected ERA, according to what has happened in the games, is 3.25. The next one is Josh Hader. And Josh Hader's expected ERA is 2.89. What that says to me is that they have been very unlucky.
Yeah.
Because when you look at Abreu's is actually a lot worse because his expected ERA is higher than his actual ERA. So these numbers actually tell us what you're telling me, not to worry.
So what people need to understand about expected, what goes into play is a lot of different factors. It's not just the raw data numbers. That's the ERA. This is the runs that you've given up. You run through the formula and you get an ERA. The expected numbers go into your opponents. It looks into how hard those guys are hitting the ball against you, which that's kind of where Presley has been. Presley, he's given up runs, but it's not like there's not been a whole lot of balls really squared up. Hader's he's been very good except for the long ball. He keeps giving up home runs, and that's one swing. But the problem is when you're a short reliever, and I dealt with this my whole career. I used to tell the media early in spring training, I said, I hope I don't talk to you guys at all this year. So, well, why is that? So, other than us just, having casual conversation, when I talk to you guys after the game, that means I gave it up. So I don't want to talk to you guys. It's like the offensive lineman that missed the block. That's the only time he's going to get any notoriety. So, it's just one of those things. When you're a short reliever and you have a bad day, the game usually is lost. It's not like
that makes
where
sense.
A guy can strike out 4 times, but everybody around him picks him up. And you had a bad day, but the team still wins. That's not the case when you're a short reliever, especially when you're a leverage reliever at the back of a game. Because you just don't have time to come back from it.
And that's what's weird. You could, like Hunter Brown, he only gave up 2 runs, but when he gave up 2 runs, I think he still had 3 strikeouts in the inning. So it's like pure stats. And I guess that's where some of the advanced metrics help me a little bit understand the game, because sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what the WOBACon is, and I don't know what the X-WOBA, and I don't understand all those things. And I have friends that understand it a lot.
I'm not going to claim I do also. I'm not going to claim that.
I mean, and that's the thing too, Mike, because I talked to a lot of these guys that are in the system and the pitchers, and they're like, oh my gosh, when we come to the Astros, we didn't we learned stuff about ourselves that we didn't know about ourselves. And so, but look, I agree with you. I think it's a long season. I think it's just difficult because there's all kinds of things coming into question. Was a spot of the right hire? Did they spend too much money on haters? Should they have kept Stanek, Htown, and Neris, which actually Stanek and Neris are actually doing phenomenal. Htown hasn't done that great.
Right.
But Stanek came in, pitched against us. Neris was that game, and we actually commented on that. But
he got 2 saves against the Astros.
Right. So they're going to New York. Lately, they're not doing great in the regular season against the Yankees. The playoffs, we know they absolutely just have the Yankees number. But going into this, how do you as a bullpen, how do you as a pitcher attack this series? Is it's just another game? You try not to put too much pressure. You've won here before. Going into New York, what do you do?
We're on the roller coaster, we being the fans. Okay, yeah, this seems like a massive, massive series.
Right.
To the players, it is just another series. Now, it's fun playing in front of a loud, boisterous crowd, which that's going to be in Yankee Stadium. That's all fun. You can get energy from that. Right. We know that the Astros are playing on the road, which, historically, they're a better road team than they are at home. But yeah, you can't get on that roller coaster as a player. There's too many games. You play every single day, seemingly every single day, and you have to be more even keel, or else you're going to be a mental mess by the time you get to June. So
I can't imagine. Yeah. I can't imagine if the players had the mindset. Now I've learned to be better at my fandom because I talk about I talk about every single game, right?
Right.
I mean, and if I get wrapped up into it the way that some of my friends get wrapped up into it, it's like I'm gonna have to have a separate counseling session just for my Astros viewing.
You'll have to get a second job for the therapy that you'll have to go through.
Real. Well, yeah, Mike. So let's go and wrap it up there, man. I mean, look, I think there's a lot of good storylines. I know the Ohtani thing came up and all the news with the off.
Well, there was the one thing that I did want to bring up. Did you see the Aaron Boone ejection when Aaron Boone didn't say anything? Did you see that?
Yes.
That was the funniest thing. It was 5 pitches into the game, and Aaron Boone gets run out of the game, and he's sitting in the dugout going, What did any of us do? We didn't. Well, there was a fan in the front row that was just behind Aaron Boone that was ragging on the umpire, but the umpire thought it was coming from the dugout. And so he runs Aaron Boone, and Aaron Boone's like, what?
Did you hear the umpire's explanation to him? He's like, well, he goes, it came from that side and that's enough. And so he said it, and so you're responsible. Like, what? How am I responsible?
The fan behind me. I have to monitor him also. Yeah, that was something that we back in the day, and they still probably use it. We used to call them rabbit ears. That the umpire 5 pitches in, and you're already kicking somebody out. Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly what the guy said, but other than cussing his heritage or talking about his mother or something like that. Jeez, I don't know what he said.
Oh, I know.
But that was a bizarre situation. And you know what? Of all the managers in Major League Baseball, it would happen to Aaron Boone.
Yeah. Aaron, he's got that famous, my guys are savages in the box.
Savages.
Or even one of my favorite, and I think probably the all-time interaction is Terry Collins with the Mets. Whenever Noah Syndergaard throws behind one of the hitters and he throws him out, and it's mic'd up. And have you seen this?
I have.
He's like, "Come on, man, you got it." He's like, and the umpire's like, "Look, they're gonna be on us. We what the deal is." And Terry Collins, "You got to give us a shot. You got to give us a shot." I love that interaction. But let me ask you this. What did you think about when the balk call was made by the same umpire that called Stanek for a balk last year, the same home plate umpire, and then he looked over and told Espada, stay in the dugout? I don't know about you, but if I'm told to stay in the dugout, I'm charging, man. I'm coming out, and I am gonna
That
get.
sounds like an invitation. That sounds like an invitation because listen, you have the right, other than balls and strikes, you have the right to go out and get an explanation of what happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes the umpires, when I first started Major League Baseball, you could talk to an umpire. You could yell at an umpire. They did not have a zero tolerance policy like they do now.
Right.
And listen, it's a tough job. They can't show any weakness. They have to make sure that they're seemingly under control all the time. But, they do still have Angel Hernandez in employment. So we'll just leave it there.
I hear you. And it just reminds me of the old commercial. I think it was like a Super Bowl commercial, maybe World Series commercial, with the umpire and coaches yelling at each other. It's like, where are you going for dinner afterwards? He's like, I think I want barbecue. He's like, yeah, me too.
Well, there was an old Billy Martin clip that he was trying to fire up the team, and he goes out there and he's yelling at the umpire, kick me out of the game, kick me out. When the umpire's looking at him like, what? Yes, kick me out of the game. It was pretty funny.
Billy Martin, man, what a classic. What a classic. I love it. Well, hey, Mike, this is a great conversation, man. This is good. I just want to thank our new subscribers, our listeners. I met several people. I've been giving out the stickers, been telling people to go subscribe to us. So look, help us get to 500 subscribers. We're gonna
get your t-shirts.
That's right. Get your t-shirt right there. And look, they are very inexpensive. We don't have $40 t-shirts. I mean, we are just trying to get you something to wear to support the show. If you look at my socials, I got my mom and I wearing matching Back to the Bullpen shirts.
I saw that.
Yeah, so that's cool, man. So Mike, thank you. Look, man, let's hope we can come back together after a series win with the Houston Astros beating the Yankees 2 games out of 3. I'll take that any day, right?
Yep, no doubt. And you can catch me on Space City Home Network. I'll be doing pre and post game for this Yankees series. So
nice.
Reach out on Twitter, X, and go Astros.
That's right. For us here in the Ramsford Studios and from the guys at State of the Art Barbershop, we thank y'all for tuning in. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. He's Mike Stanton, and we are back to the bullpen.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home.